Dr. Karthik Ramani from Purdue University. Our General of Future of Work அதெல்லாம் பற்றி நிறைய ரிசர்ச் பண்ணியிருக்கிறாரு. Is a great mentor for entrepreneurs. He has a lot of ideas. அவரை இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு I would like to bring in Mr. Kadirvel Kumar Raja. He is the Vice President of New York Tamil Changam. அது மட்டும் இல்லை, இவரும் ஒரு பெரிய ஆண்டர்பிரினர். டிஜி டெக்னாலஜி அப்படின்னு ஒரு கன்சல்டிங் ஃபர்ம் வச்சிருக்கிறாரு. இட் டஸ் பிஸ்னஸ் ப்ராசஸ் இம்ப்ரூவ்மெண்ட், சிஸ்டம் இன்டெகிரேஷன், இம்ப்ளிமெண்டேஷன், கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன், ஹோம் பில்டிங் அண்ட் ரியல் எஸ்டேட் இண்டஸ்ட்ரீஸ்க்கெலாம் சாஃப்ட்வேர் இன்டெகிரேஷன் பண்ணுது. He operates like a development team in India. I would like to invite Mr. Kumara Raja to introduce Dr. Kathy Kramani.
நன்றி பாலா. கார்த்திக் ரமணி சார் சொல்லணும்னா, நம்ம வள்ளுவன் மொழியில சொல்லணும்னா, யாதானும் நாடாமல் ஊராமல் என்னொருவன் சாந்தனியம் கல்லாதவர். அதாவது கற்றவனுக்கு எந்த நாடும் நாடாகும், எந்த ஊரும் ஊராகும். அதுக்கு ஒரு சிறந்த எடுத்துக்காட்டா இருக்கிறவர் ப்ரொஃபஸர் டாக்டர் கார்த்திக் ரமணி. ஸோ கேன் வி ஹேவ் மீ ஆன் த ஸ்க்ரீன்? ஐ ப்ராப்ளி அவர் பற்றி சொல்லணும்னா கிட்டத்தட்ட அவரோட என்டையர் டைமையும் நான் எடுத்துக்க வேண்டியது இருக்கும். ஸோ ஹி ஹேஸ் so much of accomplishments. ஸோ இதை குயிக்காக ஒரு ப்ரீஃபாக சொல்லிடுறேன். டாக்டர் கார்த்திக் ரமணி இஸ் த டொனால்ட் டபிள்யூ ஃபெடர்சன் டிஸ்டிங்விஷ்ட் ப்ரொஃபஸர் ஆஃப் ஸ்கூல் ஆஃப் மெக்கானிக்கல் இன்ஜினியரிங், Professor School of Electrical and Computer Engineering, and holds a courtesy appointment in the College of Education. And he also is a visiting professor in Oxford and many other schools, Stanford. And his research interests are in augmenting humans with virtual tools that extend and multiply human capabilities in the physical world. To enable this, his team designs, develops, and makes new human augmentation technologies for design, manufacturing, productivity, and scalable skilling tools easy to access and use. So நிறைய கேட்டுட்டு இருந்தோம். So we were talking about a lot of people innovation. So of course he holds about 23 issued patents by himself. So he has a process, or I wouldn't say process becomes very regiment. He has an approach methodology for innovation. So that's what he's trying to teach us. Just to give his educational background, a portion of it is he's earned his BTech from IIT Madras, and MS from Ohio State University, and a PhD from Stanford.
All in IIT Madras, of course. Nalla Tamil lam pesuven, but on the other hand, I went to the KVIIT, so became Hindi medium school. So I can read Tamil now, but I can't write. But anyway, given this opportunity, I'm very pleased to present in front of all of you, and I enjoyed the previous talks. And of course, we'll try to segue. In one of the talks, there was a question: what is the Internet 5.0, and what are the opportunities, and so on. And there was some discussion on AR, VR technologies. And furthermore, Arul nicely explained a lot of the virtual Coinbase and many other new types of emerging opportunities in the Bitcoin, crypto, and so on. So I'm going to be talking about similar things as examples, but my main is going to be about how to think about new opportunities. So I'm from University, so we are a very strong engineering school, and ranked number 4th in the US. And we also have produced more than half the astronauts. The one you see here is Neil Armstrong. So he was one of our engineers from the Aeronautical and Astronautical School. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about just looking at technology itself. You're seeing now there's emergence of AI and so on, but not very long ago, our machines and computers, when I went to IIT, 360 and all, very large machines, they occupied several rooms. So let us sort of think about how we came into this present. It was size of a Volkswagen. Now it has become smaller than what fits in the finger. With the miniaturization also grew the so-called internet and that part of technology. And when I went to graduate school in 1991, internet barely started. So I was very influenced by what was going on in technology in the Bay Area. So Stanford, of course, is situated in the heart of a lot of the innovations. And within that 80 miles of the school, much of the technologies that we are using today arose. But of course, now innovation is globalizing. So I'll talk a little bit about it. So we made substantial progress in the so-called digital information age. And people always are trying to guess, what is this new age we are getting into? Usually we realize it after the age is over. But I would sort of say that the information age is over, and we are sort of entering the so-called augmentation age. So you kind of see the different types of power that we used in the past, and now we are using the computer power, but already we are being augmented by things like Google for search engine and many other types of technologies. In fact, I would say we are victim of many technologies now that are pretty much taking a lot of our attention, such as Facebook and so on and so forth. So coming from a more entrepreneurial setup, we sort of look at these types of augmentation technologies, especially how humans and machines can work together. It could be machines creating Bitcoin, it could be other things, but we look at physical technologies, how we can help humans at work with robots, with other things, but also enlarge a human capacity. So we don't want to replace humans. This is a choice we make. So our goal in our research is multiplying human capacity. So I'm going to talk about 3 chapters in today's playbook. First one is design thinking as a part of a framework for people to develop new ideas and creative ideas. In some ways, I would also suggest that this leads to opportunity identification and potentially even prototyping the future. We are sort of seeing a lot of new innovations happen around the world in India. So I'm very excited about what portends the future with entrepreneurs in India. So with that, first chapter, I'm going to give you some exercise. I don't know what types and ages of people are there, but this is good for everybody. So just draw 6 circles on a sheet of paper, take a pen and pencil. I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes, and we will. What I want you to do now is after doing this, I want you to convert it into something interesting. So, for example, this first circle could be. I'll just give you something. Maybe it's a car wheel. Okay. So I'm going to give you exactly 2 minutes from now, and convert all the circles in any way you want into something interesting. Okay, so the clock has begun. So I'm going to sort of keep quiet, not disturb your thinking for about 1.5 to 2 minutes now. You can convert it in any way you want. There is no rules here. It's all up to your imagination. Okay, I'm going to sort of not give you as much time as I promised, but maybe another 10-15 seconds. Okay, great. So actually, this is the very first exercise I give in my class for students to do. So I'm going to sort of give you some things that various students did, right? Like you can see all these kinds of things. It goes from a lock to stop signs to do not enter to sun to compass, wheel, sometimes combining 2 into 1 into binoculars, bicycles, a variety of solutions. So it's, if you haven't done much conversion, it's okay. Creativity can come with practice, but we look for variety and ability to think on the spot, and also imagination. So in some ways, I think a lot of children actually do a lot of things in greater fluidity because they are not constrained by any types of things that they've been taught. On the other hand, as you go through universities and schools and start solving problems, a lot of your creativity and other things are taken out. So I was really amazed at the kind of things that Arul Murugan showed earlier. Amazingly creative person. We want people to be as creative, and we need as many entrepreneurs as he has been. We need hundreds of them coming out from our state and from Chennai and so on. So with that, I'm going to sort of talk a little bit about concept generation. So in general, in any process, any design process, you try to create more options. So you try to diverge from some ideas. And then you tend to often, the better way to do is to convert. So you try to create more choices, and then you can choose from, and then you make good choice. You bring creativity to both these processes. And in doing so, even if you're doing a startup or creating a resume or designing your life or designing a product or a service, any situation, this type of thinking where you have a broader number of ideas that you're choosing from can help you do a lot of things. But also you can play with ideas. Ideas are very fluid. You can change them. We can combine them with another one. You can adapt some other ideas. You can use references from different places to choose things. You can magnify ideas. You can take things out. You can reverse ideas, etc. So ideas are very fluid. Just give you some examples. Ice cream cone, right? Actually, this didn't exist at some time, and somebody was selling ice cream, and the neighboring stand, this is long time ago, was selling waffle, and all his cups were over. So he just borrowed the waffles, put the ice cream on it, and started giving to customers. People really liked it, and so was the ice cream cone that was born. But also things like post-it note, right? It was an accident. The adhesive actually didn't work in some situation, and one of the colleagues of Art Fly, who created the adhesive, started using it for marking pages in a Bible, and it stuck. So people started saying, "Well, this is a really good idea." So it became a product, and of course, 3M gives 20% of time of all employees to think about other things, but also think about other things, connect depth cameras and the new emerging technologies. There is LiDAR in iPhones and so on. So the scanners, which were very huge, has compressed and has eliminated a lot of the controllers we use oftentimes in many games in the earlier domain. Now our body has become the controller. So thinking in this form, right? So I'm going to give you an example here. We can combine anything, right? In some ways, I'm suggesting. So concrete and fiber optics, right? So in fact, the two were combined, and this is a form of a concrete which not only has light, and you can convert it into a billboard, or you can display images, etc. And people actually tried to commercialize this. It was a technology that Europe. But what I'm also suggesting now is give you an exercise. Okay. So the first object I've given you is a pencil. Take about 30 seconds, draw something below, whatever it be, it doesn't matter. Okay. And just like I showed you that example, try to combine the two in some creative form and come up with something new. Okay. So this is the short creativity exercise on combining two different things into something new. Right? If you take all these Bitcoin and everything else, all new ideas, they're all combinations of old ideas in some new ways. And the further apart the two ideas are, the more novel the new idea typically is, right? So oftentimes these don't convert into business or entrepreneurial ideas, but the point is you can practice how you combine ideas very fluidly without even thinking. Okay, so hopefully you came up with something new. Maybe you can talk to your kids about it, or tell them about what you learned about combining ideas, right? So this is just like algebra. So design is in general a choice, and there is a lot of room for creativity, but in particular, coming up with meaningful options that you can choose from, number one. And number two is coming up with ways by which you make choices. So a lot of people will not be able to explicitly tell you how they do it, but creativity comes also with practice and hard work. It's not like somebody is born with creative ways of doing things. It's something that you can practice and become better at, right? So keep an open mind and go into a problem when you're trying to solve it, or understand a problem deeply before you try to solve it. So this kind of thinking is often called the so-called design thinking. This is one of the hallmarks in the design school at Stanford. So of course, a lot of entrepreneurs have come out from there. So given that type of thinking, I certainly believe that it's going to help all of you in experimenting rapidly, creating products with customers and consumers, budgeting for innovation, or also finding talent, and collaborating with people and widening your domain knowledge. All of this requires a much more open mind to develop and design ideas. So chapter 2, now I'm going to switch to opportunity identification. So in general, any problem, anything, it can be cryptocurrency, augmented reality, virtual reality, IoT. All of these are technologies, right? In general, people don't care about what the technology is. Really, what they care about is the value that it gives, right? So as even Arul pointed out, it's the transfer of value that those networks give by investing in. Crypto is just the new technology which gives you certain guarantees of ownership and so on. So in similar way, take any technology, the first thing is it has to be desirable by people. And of course, new technologies grow in a small community and narrower networks. They tend to spread more widely, and that's kind of what is going on, for example, with crypto. But forgetting about crypto, everything is like this. Even things like cars, and now the electric car and so on. Electric car, for instance, if you look at it at a very broad level, is a combination of the engine which existed a while ago and the electric battery, right? And of course, new types of drive technologies which go directly on the wheel, direct drive motors, and so on. So desirability, feasibility is a technology idea. The desirability of the users and the feasibility of technology should match. So this is called the, usually they call it the product market fit much later in the design process. But in the early stage, you can think of it as a user technology fit or something like that, right? Then you have the viability that, of course, you need a business or you need a nonprofit or people that understand and seek value and are willing to support the development of the technology. So you can kind of think of it all together, and examples, right? Even you have a very nice example from India, Arvind Eye Care, right? It was innovation, and it understood the consumers' lives. It overcame a lot of challenges and delivered eye care to populations in remote areas. But also it created a whole system. It said, like, if the population can't reach us, let us reach out to them. So it had all these characteristics, and any kind of a business opportunity, whether it's profit or non-profit, needs to blend these types of technologies. The three features, key central features, which we think of in any venture. But also, I want to sort of suggest that that when we are thinking of design broadly, there are a lot of ways by which we can try to understand what problems we should solve, and how we can realize it, how we can scale it, and also understand why and what are the core values that will make others want this type of technology, right? So in this vein, we sort of cover a lot of important ideas, from developing minimum viable products to prototyping them to scaling them to product service models and so on, right? So we can learn by doing. So our class methods are very active learning. So we want people to actually try and prototype their ideas right during the class. So here is one of the examples that my research is looking at right now very carefully, right? Old media, printed manuals, one-on-one training, videos. These are the hallmarks of early types of training technologies, right? And then the evaluation methods. They're all very, very old. It's been there for a long time. So what we are looking at now in our a lot of our research activities and also our translational activities in doing new ventures and startups are how we can combine the new technologies to offer value to train people at work. And it can be any type of technology, whether it's welding or other types of technologies. So what we are trying to use here, of course, is the augmented and virtual reality technology areas. We have been working on this for almost 15 years, much before any of the commercial products have come into the market. And more recently, you can see Facebook even changed their name, $2.5 trillion company, and they see enormous value in terms of AR and VR, right? And so does Apple, and so does Google, and so does NVIDIA. All of them are after this technology, except that you don't see it in the open. Facebook came out in the open for various reasons. But in general, these technologies pretty much are going to redefine the entire internet because they give you the value of physical presence. See, if even now we are all living in a flat Zoom, it's not feeling as if we are all in one room. Very soon in the future, we actually have these technologies working now. It's not scalable, and the platforms are not all developed. The tools for creating it are not like you take a phone and create a video. So a lot of development has to happen, but there is a systematic set of processes that different communities are following to make it happen. So this is Meta. Meta is Facebook's new name, and two people playing chess. They're not there in the same place, right? So, and the coins may or may not be real, but this is the kind of technology that is possible today, right? And this is the future. This might even cut out travel. People people are already not wanting to go to work because of COVID and all that, right? And it pushed the Zoom and it's pushed this FeTNA meeting to go on this kind of a platform, right? We never had this meeting in this kind of a platform, but for COVID, it's causing a lot of people to think about communication technologies in very fundamental new ways. So that's, and also, for instance, tomorrow's various things that we go to and attend will all be in this form. So it'll be digitized. It'll be like we are just going through Zoom. Of course, it's going to have a lot of negative impact on many people in many ways, but so is technology, right? So today we wonder why email was created. So in that way. So the way that we are thinking about it is today creating augmented and virtual reality is very hard, very expensive, takes a lot of time, for 2 to 6 months. And for some of these high-tech things, it takes $40,000, $50,000. And of course, people are going to want thousands of this kind of AR, VR things, like YouTube is hosting billions and millions of videos, right? And how much of it is consumed, right? How much of it is giving good education to a lot of people? In the same way, we see AR and VR growing in the future, but also now we have to create technologies in order to author it, to create it, to curate it, etc., and build it. So 3D is not 2D plus 1D; it's much more complex here. So that's where work is in our lab is going on. And we are even thinking of doing startup actually in South India, perhaps in Bangalore or Chennai in the near future. So chapter 3, right? Prototyping technology. So here, depicting is this big pyramid. The lower half of the pyramid is the customer, the problem. The upper half of it is the solution. So as I spoke about earlier, the desirability and feasibility translates into the user and technology, and the two have to fit. It's not like the technology is not changing. Technologies keep changing, and also the users keep changing, and the markets keep changing. So achieving this fit is the golden objective for any entrepreneurial startup, right? The so-called product market fit. And so the idea is you prototype all of this in some ways, and you can test it with customers in the early stages of technology, right? So that's how we think about reducing the risk, as opposed to, oftentimes people think that entrepreneurs take risks, but entrepreneurs have a lot of knowledge by which they are able to figure out and reduce risk, right? So that is the way about technology. But also in terms of knowledge of market and knowledge of technology, you can think of existing markets and other things, just small variations, improvements, Horizon 1 opportunities. And Horizon 2 is more into new adjacent markets, moving to new generation of products for core markets. And the future opportunities are exploration of new markets and new technologies, a totally new category of products. But also I would suggest a place such as India gives enormous opportunities, not for copying US technologies and US markets, but for homegrown technologies which cater to the public, which create value among the population there. And potentially even those technologies can later be brought to markets like US, because you have very different constraints in markets like in India, growing markets like India, and you create the technology under those constraints. And so I think there are entirely new ways of thinking about new directions in terms of reducing costs, increasing buyer value, and the sweet spot there is oftentimes called the blue ocean strategy. But the basic idea is you create the sweet spot whereby your technology or the market and the business model together can become very disruptive to existing markets. And a couple of examples were given earlier. Arul gave some nice examples in this area as well. So moving forward, this is one of the technologies that came out of our lab a few years ago. So we were working with puppeteers at one time, and we wanted to create a kit for children to build robots, right? So that was our goal. But when we were working, we realized that we should be actually creating the robot itself, but simply create its brain and create the actuators, and the kids can build their robot. So that's what we did. So this is a bunch of actuators which are all can communicate with each other and communicate with the web, all the so-called IoT technologies, and they are coordinated with a smartphone, and with a simple glove you can control that. So with that, kids can build all kinds of toys. They can build robots, they can build swing sets, and it can grow with the children. So this was our concept. In the lab, it of course did look like this. This is the early product prototype. Unfortunately, when we, like any products, for converting into when you go into production, much of this technology, in terms of costs and ability to do it quickly and so on, China is pretty much dominating it. I wish I could have done it in India, but all of it happens in Shenzhen, in that area. That's where a lot of the product manufacturing is happening. But also these days, the tensions between US and China has created a great opportunity for India in terms of building new technology. So of course, China made a lot of its money in manufacturing and hardware. We can do it other ways. But in any case, here, kids creating dogs or dinosaurs and controlling it, right? So you can almost do anything with just cardboard and this set of actuators. So actually, this research from our lab won the Best of Consumer Electronics Show during 2016, and I was in all TV networks, and the company's CEO was also one of IIT Madras alums, and it was an interesting ride. Of course, given COVID, things are not as easy as it seems now. But I also want to suggest that building teams, when you're creating entrepreneurial startups or any team to be successful, needs expertise of different kinds. So I may ask you, right? Are you the telling type? Do you like to tell people what to do, or do you like to ask people questions and figure out what's going on, right? So try to put yourself somewhere in between. Then you can have a lot of strategic business ideas and opportunities, right? Project from this is and envision new opportunities, but also you can think about it from a forward-looking manner. I have this now. What can I go? So I have 2 more minutes. I'm almost finishing. So given the users' solutions and problems, we can do well by creating good user solution fit. I wanted to talk about Jaipur Food. Finally, to end, any innovation ecosystem, right? So we created a lot of students and startups. We hope that we create a bright future. And India, I think, is a great place, including Y Combinator this year featured the largest number of Indian startups. So I'm very positive about the future. And things like the Matic mentioned earlier, but also many other startups are coming up. So with that, I wanted to thank you, and that's the end of my talk.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ramani, for a detailed review of creativity and why it is important. I did go through your web page and your homepage at Purdue. Uh, this is information news to me. Maybe it's old, so you removed it. This 2016 CES show, and I, even though I have moved away from technology, I religiously visit the CES in Las Vegas for 2 reasons. One of them is technology. So it is good to know that you guys have really made a mark there. Congratulations. And thank you for taking time to come to FeTNA and illuminate us on these new ideas and pushing us toward creativity and design. Thank you.
Thank you very much.